Two identical girls, always on the same subway bench, hide a secret no adult ever noticed, until someone stopped to look and was never the same again. The frantic movement of Union Station never stopped. Even at 7 in the morning, when Chicago was still waking under the grey mantle of winter, the platforms bustled with the characteristic hurry of a metropolis that never slept. Richard Anderson walked with firm, calculated steps, his Italian shoes echoing on the polished concrete floor. His charcoal grey suit, impeccably tailored, contrasted with the austere environment of the underground station. At 42, Richard had transformed Anderson Tech into one of the country's largest sustainable technology companies. His routine was meticulously planned. Get off at Union Station at 7:15 a.m., walk exactly 200 meters to the Union Square exit, go up to the office on the 23rd floor of a mirrored building. He never ran late, never changed his route, never allowed himself to be distracted by the small urban tragedies that swarmed throughout the city. Until that Tuesday. It was Megan who first caught his attention. Sitting on the cold concrete bench, her legs swinging in the air because they couldn't reach the floor, she observed the movement with a seriousness that didn't match her apparent 8 years. Beside her, an identical girl, Lily, was dozing on her sister's shoulder, her disheveled brown hair covering part of her angelic face. Richard slowed his pace almost without realizing it. There was something about Megan's posture that intrigued him. It wasn't desperation or abandonment, it was vigilance, as if she were protecting something precious while keeping her senses alert for any danger. "Excuse me, sir." The childish voice made him stop completely. Megan was staring at him with large dark eyes too serious for a child. "Have you seen a woman with black hair passing by? Our mum went to get food and told us to wait." The words hit Richard like a punch to the stomach. He looked around, noticing for the first time the worn backpacks next to the girls, the thin blanket carefully folded, the crumpled case that probably held their only belongings. "When did she leave?" he asked, crouching down to their level. Megan exchanged a quick glance with Lily, who had awakened and was watching him with curiosity, mixed with fear. "Yesterday morning," answered Megan, her voice firm despite her age. "But she always comes back. Sometimes it just takes a little longer." Richard felt a tightness in his chest. The girl's words carried a forced maturity, a certainty built on fragile hope. He recognized that tone. It was the same one he used as a child every time someone asked about his mother. "Have you eaten anything today?" "Megan shared her crackers with me," said Lily, her voice sweeter and more childlike than her sister's. "But she said she wasn't hungry." The look that Megan gave her younger sister was loaded with protection and care that deeply touched Richard. He saw in those dark eyes a distorted reflection of his own childhood, when he learned too early that sometimes we need to be stronger than we should be. "How about if I brought something for you to eat? Just so you won't be hungry while you wait for your mom." Megan hesitated, clearly torn between necessity and the natural distrust of a child who had learned to survive on her own. "My mom said not to talk to strangers," she murmured, but her stomach chose that moment to audibly growl. "Your mom is right," agreed Richard, surprised by the patience in his own voice. He had no experience with children, avoided them at social events, considered them too unpredictable for his ordered world. "How about if I bring the food and leave it here on the bench next to you? You can take it when you want." The negotiation worked. Richard went up to the square, bought sugar donuts, orange juices, and some fruit at a nearby bakery. When he returned, the girls were still in the same place, hugging and whispering to each other. He left the food on the indicated bench and moved away a few meters, pretending to check his phone. He observed Megan carefully examining each item before authorizing Lily to eat. The younger girl devoured the donut with the hunger of someone who hadn't been properly fed for days. When Richard finally left the station, he had already missed 2 important meetings. For the first time in years, his meticulously planned schedule had been broken by an impulse he couldn't rationally explain. Throughout the day, while signing contracts and discussing financial projections, the image of the 2 girls never left his mind. Megan, strong and protective despite her young age, Lily, sweet and confident in her sister's protection, both trapped in a weight that might never end. At 6 in the evening, instead of heading home, Richard went back down to Union Station. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit like. Tell us what city you're watching from. We'll continue. The fluorescent lights of Union Station flickered in an irregular rhythm when Richard descended the stairs for the second time that day. His heart was beating to a different rhythm than usual, not the controlled pulse of his business meetings, but something more human, more vulnerable. Megan and Lily were still on the same bench, now wrapped in the thin blanket. The movement at the station had decreased, with only the last commuters of business hours remaining and some homeless people who were already claiming their corners for the night. "Are you still waiting?" asked Richard, approaching carefully. Megan looked up, recognizing him immediately. There was a silent gratitude in her eyes, but also an unshakable determination. "Mom always comes back," she said firmly. "Sometimes she needs to take care of important things, but she comes back." Lily snuggled more into her sister's shoulder, and Richard noticed that she was trembling slightly. The Chicago July night promised to be particularly cold. "May I sit with you for a while?" Megan nodded after a moment of hesitation. Richard settled on the bench beside them, maintaining a respectful distance. The smell of dampness and the echo of the last trains created an almost dreamlike atmosphere on the semi-empty platform. "Do you have somewhere to stay warm if it gets too cold?" "We have our blanket," replied Megan, pulling the worn blanket over Lily. "My mum said it's very important to take care of each other. Your mum seems to be a very wise person." "She is," agreed Lily, speaking for the first time since he had arrived. "She tells the best stories in the whole world, about princesses who save dragons and girls who fly to the moon." Richard smiled, touched by the innocence in the younger girl's voice. "And what's your favorite story?" "The one about the girl who found a family in a train station," replied Lily without hesitation. "Mom made that one up just for us." The impact of those words was like lightning. Richard felt something move inside his chest, an emotion he had buried a long time ago. He remembered his own mother, Elizabeth, who also told stories before disappearing from his life when he was only 9 years old. "What is she like, your mom?" he asked, trying to keep his voice casual. "She has really black hair like ours," said Megan, her fingers playing with her own locks. "And she sings when she's happy. Sometimes she gets sad and cries, but we give her cuddles and she feels better." "Does she work somewhere specific?" Megan exchanged another look with Lily, that silent communication that only twin sisters could master. "She said she was looking for a new job," explained Megan carefully. "That when she found one, we would live in a real house with a bed and everything." Richard felt a lump in his throat. The hope in the girl's voice was both beautiful and devastating. He knew that feeling of waiting well, that unshakable faith in a promise that might never be fulfilled. "And if she takes a long time to come back?" "She won't take long," affirmed Megan, with a conviction that seemed more like an attempt to convince herself. "She promised she would bring chocolate pizza." "Lily loves chocolate pizza. Does chocolate pizza exist?" asked Richard, genuinely curious. "Mom says it does," laughed Lily. "She says there's pizza with everything in the world. Star pizza, rainbow pizza, hug pizza." The childish fantasy cruelly contrasted with the cold reality of the station. "Richard," observed the two girls, one struggling to be strong, the other still protected by innocence, and felt a strange responsibility grow in his chest. "Listen," he said, choosing his words carefully. "How about if I came by here tomorrow, just to see how you're doing?" Megan hesitated again, but this time for less time. "Okay," she agreed, "but when Mom comes, we need to leave quickly." "Of course," smiled Richard. "I just want to make sure you're okay while you wait." He got up, taking a business card and some money from his pocket. "This is my phone number. If anything happens, anything at all, call me, okay?" Megan took the card, studying it seriously. "Richard Anderson," she read slowly. "Anderson Tech. Do you build computers, sir?" "Something like that," he smiled. "And you? What are your names?" "I'm Megan, and this is my sister Lily. We're twins, but she was born 3 minutes after me. That's why I take care of her," added Megan with pride. "And I take care of Megan too," protested Lily. "When she gets scared of thunder, I sing to her." Richard waved, saying goodbye with a nod. As he climbed the station stairs, he carried with him more than simply the memory of 2 abandoned children. He carried the weight of a decision that he hadn't yet consciously made, but that was already forming somewhere deep in his soul. The early morning hours arrived without Richard being able to close his eyes. He walked through his spacious and impeccably decorated apartment, watching through the panoramic window the lights of Chicago that never completely went out. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Megan and Lily huddled on that cold bench, waiting for a mother who might never return. At 5 in the morning, he gave up trying to sleep. He prepared a strong coffee and called his personal assistant. "Claire, I need you to cancel my morning schedule." "Mr. Anderson," Claire's voice sounded surprised. In 15 years working for him, this was the second time she had heard such a request. "May I know the reason? The meeting with the Japanese investors is crucial for..." "Reschedule it for the afternoon. It's urgent." Richard hung up before she could protest. He dressed more casually, dark jeans and a cotton shirt, a choice that surprised even himself. He hadn't worn jeans in years. When he arrived at Union Station at 7 in the morning, carrying bags from an upscale bakery on Michigan Avenue, he found the girls already awake. Megan was helping Lily comb her hair with a small broken comb. "You wake up very early," he observed, approaching. "We always wake up early," explained Megan. "Mom used to say that good people wake up with the sun." Richard distributed fresh bread, natural juice, and fruits. This time Megan didn't hesitate to accept, and he noticed that she was more relaxed in his presence. "Megan," he said, while watching Lily eat with appetite, "do you remember where you lived before? Maybe I can help look for your mom." Megan paused in the middle of a bite, her dark eyes filling with tears that she quickly tried to hide. "We lived in a small house," she murmured, "but the owner said Mom couldn't pay anymore. Then she took our things and said we were going to stay in a safe place until she fixed everything. And that safe place was here. She said there are always people passing by here, so we would never be completely alone, and that if something happened, we should just ask for help." Richard felt a tightness in his heart. The girl's mother had planned to leave them there, at least temporarily. It hadn't been an impulsive abandonment. "Do you remember her full name?" "Elizabeth," replied Lily without hesitation. "Elizabeth Marie." Richard's world stopped. The coffee he was holding slipped from his hands, spilling onto the station floor. That name he had tried to forget for more than 30 years. "Are you okay?" asked Megan, concerned about his sudden paleness. "Elizabeth Marie," he repeated, his voice almost disappearing. Do you know her last name?" The girls looked at each other, confused by the intensity of his reaction. "Sometimes people at school called her Elizabeth Smith," said Megan cautiously. "But she never liked it much. She said her real name was prettier." Richard needed to sit down. His legs were trembling, and he felt as if the station floor was moving beneath his feet. Elizabeth Marie, the same name, the same person who had left him on a cold morning in 1989, promising to return after work and never appearing again. "What does she look like physically?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "She's tiny, smaller than us when we stand on the bed," described Lily with innocence. "And she has a little mole here," she touched her own chin, "that she says is where an angel kissed her when she was born." The mole on her chin. Richard remembered that mark perfectly, which he used to touch as a child, asking his mother to tell again the story of the angel's kiss. "And does she have anything special? Any jewelry? Any object that she always carries?" Megan nodded enthusiastically. "She has a necklace that she never takes off. It's golden, with a heart broken in half. She says that one day she'll find the other half." Richard instinctively brought his hand to his chest, where under his shirt hung a chain with half a golden heart, the same heart that his mother had, broken in half on the day he turned 8, giving him one half and keeping the other. "Did she talk about anyone special? Someone from the past?" "She sometimes cried looking at the moon," said Megan softly, and said that she had left someone very important behind, but that one day she would come back to fix everything. Lily added, she said she had a boy that she loved very much, but that she had to leave to protect him, that when she got better in the head, she would go get him. The girl's words echoed in Richard's mind like an echo from the past. His mother always said she was bad in the head in the last days before disappearing. She talked to herself, cried, for no reason, and sometimes looked at him as if he were a stranger. "Girls," he said, his voice trembling with contained emotion, "I need to tell you something. But first, I need to be sure. Has your mum ever talked about a boy named Richard?" Megan furrowed her brow, concentrating on the memory. She sometimes talked in her sleep. She said, "Richard, forgive Mommy. Richard, Mommy will come back." We thought she was dreaming about some friend. Richard closed his eyes, feeling tears burn behind his eyelids. All the pieces fit together. Elizabeth hadn't just abandoned 2 daughters at Union Station. She had repeated the pattern, reliving the same trauma she had caused 30 years before. And now he was there, facing the half-sisters he never knew. He had, trapped in the same hopeless weight that he himself had lived. The silence that followed the revelation weighed over the station like a dense cloud. Richard observed Megan and Lily, who stared at him with innocent curiosity, unaware of the emotional turmoil that their words had triggered in him. "Are you okay?" asked Megan, lightly touching his arm. "You got really pale." Richard forced a smile, still processing the magnitude of what he had discovered. His half-sisters, there in front of him, waiting for the same woman who had marked him forever. "I'm fine. I just remembered something important." He stood up, walking a few steps to regain his composure. "Megan, Lily, I need to leave for a moment, but I'll be back. Can you wait for me?" "Of course," replied Megan. "We always wait." The simplicity of that answer cut Richard's heart. They were used to waiting. It was all they knew how to do. Richard climbed the station stairs with faltering steps. In Union Square, he called the only man he completely trusted, Sam Mitchell, a former detective with the Chicago Police Department who now worked as a private investigator. "Sam? I need you. It's urgent." "Richard, what time is it, man? Not even 8 in the morning yet." "I need you to investigate someone. A woman named Elizabeth Marie Smith, missing for a few days, has twin daughters." "Okay, calm down. Take a breath and tell me properly. What's this story about?" Richard quickly summarized the girl's situation, omitting his suspicions about the mother's identity. He wasn't ready yet to verbalize that possibility. "I understand. I'll start with police stations, hospitals, shelters. If she disappeared a few days ago, there must be some record." "Sam, it's possible she has psychiatric problems, episodes, depression, something like that." "That changes everything. I'll check the specialized hospitals first. I'll call you in a few hours." When he returned to the station, Richard encountered a scene that made him stop at the top of the stairs. A security guard was talking to the girls, clearly bothered by their presence. "Can't stay here all day. This is a train station, not anybody's home." "But we're not bothering anyone," protested Megan, protecting Lily with her arm. "We're just sitting here." "Rules are rules, little girl. You'll have to leave." Richard quickly descended the stairs. Approaching the group. "Excuse me," he interrupted, using the authoritative tone he reserved for important meetings. "Is there a problem here?" The security guard turned, clearly intimidated by Richard's imposing presence, even dressed casually. "Do you know these children?" "Yes, I do. They're under my responsibility." Megan looked at him with surprise, but said nothing. Lily hid behind her sister, intimidated by the tension in the air. "Then you need to take them out of here. They can't stay in the station without an adult companion." "I completely understand," replied Richard. "We'll resolve this right now." The security guard walked away, apparently satisfied. Richard crouched in front of the girls, who were watching him with wide eyes. "Listen," he said carefully, "you can't stay here at the station anymore, but I have a proposal to make." "We can stay in the square," suggested Megan quickly. "Mom will know where to look." "Megan, Lily." Richard's voice was gentle but firm. "Do you trust me?" The girls looked at each other with that silent communication they always had. "Yes," replied Megan after a moment. "Then come with me. To my home. Just until we find your mum." "But what if she comes looking for us here?" "I'll leave all the information with the station staff. If she shows up, they'll know where you are." Lily pulled on Megan's sleeve, whispering something in her sister's ear. Megan nodded after a moment of reflection. "Can we really trust you?" she asked with adult seriousness. "You can," replied Richard, and for the first time in years, that word carried more than a commercial promise. "I promise I'll take care of you." "And when Mom comes back, can we leave with her?" "Of course you can." Megan extended her small hand to him. "Then okay." As they walked through Union Square toward the taxi, Richard felt as if he were crossing an invisible bridge between two versions of himself. The man he had been, focused, solitary, emotionally shielded, and the man he was becoming, vulnerable, responsible, inexplicably connected to these two children. In the back seat of the taxi, Lily fell asleep leaning against Megan, who remained alert, watching. The city passed by the window. Richard noticed how she protected her sister, even while sleeping, keeping her arm around her. "Where to, boss?" asked the driver. Richard gave the address of his apartment on Michigan Avenue, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking of a woman with black hair and sad eyes who had left twice, leaving 3 lives suspended in the hope of a return that might never come. But this time, he wouldn't just be the abandoned child. This time, he would be the adult who stayed. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit like. Tell us what city you're watching from. We'll continue. Richard's apartment on Michigan Avenue was a perfect reflection of his personality. Modern, organized, and coldly elegant. Italian design furniture, contemporary artwork on the white walls, and not a single mark of real human life. Until that morning. Megan and Lily entered like 2 small silent hurricanes, carrying their worn backpacks and looking around with a mixture of admiration and discomfort. "It's so big," murmured Lily, clinging to Megan's arm. "And so white," added Megan, clearly intimidated by the pristine cleanliness of the environment. Richard observed the apartment through the girl's eyes and for the first time realized how that space was more a museum than a home. "Let's leave your things in the guest room," he said, guiding them down the hallway, "so you can make yourselves comfortable here." The guest room was spacious and impersonal, with a double bed and white furniture. The girls put their backpacks on the bed, which seemed gigantic compared to their small bodies. "Can I show you the apartment?" offered Richard. Over the next few minutes, he guided Megan and Lily through the living room, gourmet kitchen, and balcony with a panoramic view of the city. The girls followed him in silence, touching things with reverent care, as, "Hey, if everything were made of crystal, are you hungry?" he asked in the immaculate kitchen, opening the refrigerator and realizing it was almost empty. His diet consisted basically of delivery food and business dinners. "I can cook," offered Megan quickly. "I know how to make pasta with tomato sauce." "You know how to cook? Mom taught me. She said a woman needs to know how to take care of herself and the people she loves." The naturalness with which Megan assumed adult responsibilities deeply touched Richard. He ordered Japanese food from a nearby restaurant, and when it arrived, he watched the girls try sushi for the first time in their lives. "Is it really raw fish?" asked Lily, making a face. "You don't have to eat it if you don't like it," laughed Richard. "I can order pizza." "Chocolate pizza?" asked Lily hopefully. "Ah, I don't know if chocolate pizza really exists." "Mom said that when she had money, she would buy chocolate pizza for us," said Megan softly. Richard's phone rang, interrupting the moment. It was Sam. "Excuse me, girls, I need to take this." He moved away to the balcony, leaving the girls playing with the sushi chopsticks. "So, Sam, did you discover anything?" "Richard, man, this story is more complicated than I imagined. I found records of an Elizabeth Marie Smith at Central Hospital psychiatric ward. She was admitted 4 days ago as indigent, in acute psychotic episode." Richard's heart accelerated. "Is she okay?" She's alive, but sedated. Apparently she was found wandering around the Riverwalk area, talking to herself and refusing to give personal information. She only repeated two names, Megan and Lily. And now, can I talk to her? Not for now. She's been compulsorily committed for 72 hours. But there's one more thing, Richard. Checking older records, I found something interesting. Richard held his breath. There's an Elizabeth Marie who had a son in 1982, a boy named Richard Anderson Smith, single mother, father not identified. Richard's world spun. There it was, in official records, the confirmation of everything he suspected. Sam, can you continue the investigation discreetly? I need to understand the whole story before making any decision. Of course, but can I ask, did you know this woman before? It's a long story. I'll explain later. When he returned to the kitchen, he found Megan and Lily sitting on the floor, drawing on some papers they had found. What are you drawing? Our new home, explained Lily, showing a drawing with 3 stick figures. This is you, this is me, and this is Megan. And where is your mum in the drawing? She's working, replied Megan quickly. But she'll come back for dinner, Richard. Notice that Megan hadn't included her mother in the drawing, while Lily still maintained the fantasy that everything would return to normal. How about if you took a hot bath, he suggested. I can arrange clean clothes for you. Together? Asked Lily. If you want. While the girls were bathing, Richard called his assistant Claire, cancelling all his commitments for the next few days. Then he quickly went out to buy children's clothes, toys, and appropriate food for kids. When he returned, he found Megan and Lily in the living room, clean and wearing their old clothes, watching cartoons on television. They looked tiny on the giant white leather sofa. I brought some things for you, he said, showing the bags. The girls' eyes lit up at seeing the new clothes, dolls, and storybooks. But it was when Richard took out 2 identical teddy bears from the bag that Lily began to cry. Why are you crying? He asked, concerned. Mom always said that one day she would buy teddy bears for us, sobbed Lily. She said that every girl needs a teddy bear to keep her dreams. Megan hugged her sister, whispering words of comfort. Richard sat on the floor next to them, offering the teddy bears. Then you can keep your dreams here until your mom comes back. That night, after dining on regular pizza, not chocolate, but the girls didn't complain, Richard arranged the bed for them. Megan insisted on sleeping on the side by the door to protect Lily, while the younger sister snuggled with her new teddy bear. Good night, Richard, said Lily sleepily. Good night, little one. Richard, called Megan in the dark. Yes? Thank you for taking care of us. Richard felt a lump in his throat. Thank you for trusting me. Lying in his own bed, Richard looked at the ceiling and realized that for the first time in years his house wasn't silent. He could hear the soft breathing of the girls, small whispers and movements, sounds of real life. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel alone. A week had passed since Megan and Lily arrived at Richard's apartment. The routine had established itself in a surprisingly natural way, breakfast with pancakes that he had learned to make by watching. YouTube videos, drawings spread across the dining table, and evenings of improvised stories. The impeccable apartment had transformed. Toys occupied previously empty corners, colorful drawings decorated the refrigerator, and the smell of home-cooked food replaced the antiseptic aroma of cleaning products. Sam called on a rainy Tuesday when the girls were playing school in the EC living room. Richard, Elizabeth can receive visitors today. The doctor cleared it, but only for an hour. Richard's stomach contracted. After 33 years, he would finally see the mother who had abandoned him. Can the girls come too? It's not advisable. She's still very fragile, and seeing her daughters might cause a relapse in her emotional state. Richard looked at Megan and Lily, who were putting together a puzzle on the floor. How could he explain that he had found their mother but couldn't take them with him? Megan, Lily, he called, sitting on the floor next to them. I need to talk to you. Megan raised her eyes, always attentive to changes in his tone of voice. I found a clue about where your mom might be. Is she okay? Asked Lily immediately, dropping the puzzle pieces. She's in a hospital, not because she hurt something in her body, but because sometimes the mind gets tired and needs to rest. Megan frowned. Is she sick in the head? Again. The question revealed that the girls knew about Elizabeth's problems, probably had witnessed previous episodes. Again? Asked Richard gently. Sometimes Mum would get really sad and talk to people who weren't there, explained Megan. She said her thoughts would get messy like a really disorganized room. I'm going to visit her today, but I can't take you yet. The doctors think it's better if I talk to her first. But you'll tell her we're okay? Asked Lily, her big eyes full of hope. I'll tell her you're safe and that I'm taking very good care of you. At Central Hospital, Richard followed the instructions to the psychiatric ward. The white corridor and the smell of disinfectant brought unpleasant memories of when he himself had been taken to hospitals during his turbulent childhood in orphanages. Mr. Anderson, a nurse approached. Mrs. Smith is in room 314. She was medicated recently, so she might be a bit drowsy. Richard stopped in front of the door, his heart beating as if it would burst from his chest. He took a deep breath and entered. The woman in the bed was an aged and fragile version of the mother he remembered. Black hair now with grey strands, the thin face marked by years and hardships. But the mole on her chin was still there, and the dark eyes were unmistakably the same. Elizabeth, he called softly. She slowly turned her head, her eyes taking a few seconds to focus on him. When she finally recognized him, her face contorted in an expression of shock and deep pain. Richard. Her voice was a broken whisper. My boy, you've grown so much. The tears came without warning, both in her eyes and his. 33 years of hurt, abandonment, and longing condensed in that moment. Mum, he said, the word coming out with difficulty after so many years without pronouncing it. I didn't deserve for you to come see me, she cried. I abandoned you. I'm a terrible mother. Richard approached the bed, fighting between the impulse to hug her and the anger he still carried in his chest. Why did you leave, Mom? Why did you leave me? I was very sick, son. My head. I heard voices, saw things that didn't exist. I was afraid of hurting you. I thought you would be better off away from me. But you promised you would come back. I tried, she sobbed. So many times I tried to come back, but every time I got a little better, the illness came back worse. And you kept growing up, and I thought it would be too late. Richard sat in the chair next to the bed. And the girls? Megan and Lily. Elizabeth's face momentarily lit up. My girls, are they okay? Where are they? They're with me. Safe. With you? She looked at him confused. How? I found them at Union Station. They were waiting for you to come back. Elizabeth covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I did it again. I abandoned my daughters just like I abandoned you. What kind of mother am I? A sick mother, said Richard, surprising himself with the gentleness in his own voice. A mother who needs help. Do they hate me? No. They love you and want you back, but you need to get better first. Elizabeth held his hand with surprising strength. Richard, can you take care of them while I get treatment? I have no one else. You're all they have now. The irony of the situation didn't go unnoticed. The mother who had abandoned him now asked him to take care of the sisters she had also abandoned. They are my sisters? He asked. Elizabeth nodded, tears flowing freely down her face. I never had the courage to look for you, but when they were born, I knew that one day you would find each other. I felt it in my heart. Who is their father? A man who passed through my life when I was in a good period. He didn't want to take responsibility when he found out about the pregnancy. Richard remained silent for a few minutes, processing everything. Finally, he asked, Do you really want to get better this time? More than anything in the world, I want to be a real mother to them, and maybe try to be something for you too, if you'll allow me. Then let's make a deal, said Richard. You get treatment, do everything the doctors tell you, take the medications, go to therapy, and I'll take care of the girls. When you're really well, we'll talk about the future. You would do that, after everything I did? Richard looked at the fragile woman in the bed, the mother who had deeply hurt him, but who had also given life to the 2 children who now brightened his days. "I would do it for the girls," he said, "and maybe for us too." When he left the hospital, Richard carried a mixture of emotions that he didn't know how to process. Anger, sadness, hope, and a strange relief for finally having answers to the questions that had tormented him his entire life. At home, Megan and Lily received him anxiously waiting for news. "How is she?" they asked almost in unison. "She's recovering. And she asked me to take very good care of you while she does." "Did she talk about you?" asked Megan, always perceptive. Richard smiled, hugging the 2 girls. "She said you have an older brother who loves you very much." 3 months passed. Since the meeting at the hospital, Richard's apartment had completely transformed, not just in decoration, but in the energy that filled it. Laughter echoed through the corridors, small voices discussed cartoons, and the smell of homemade cookies competed with the aroma of breakfast. Megan and Lily had adapted to the new life with a resilience that surprised and moved Richard daily. Megan, always responsible, helped with household chores and cared for Lily with maternal dedication. Lily, in turn, had found in the security of the new home the confidence to be a child again. She ran through the corridors, sang in the bath, and filled the walls with colorful drawings. "Richard!" shouted Lily on a Saturday morning, running to the living room in pajamas. "Megan said today is the day to visit Mom." Richard smiled, closing the laptop where he was working. He had drastically changed his routine, working from home whenever possible to be present in the girls' lives. "That's right. Shall we get ready?" The hospital visits had become weekly. Elizabeth was responding well to treatment, but the process was slow and full of ups and downs. In the first meetings, she could barely converse coherently. Now, 3 months later, there were days when she seemed almost like the mother that Megan and Lily remembered. At the hospital, they found Elizabeth sitting in the common area, visibly better. She had gained weight, her hair was combed, and her eyes had recovered part of their lost sparkle. "My girls!" she smiled, opening her arms. Megan hesitated for a moment, as she always did, before running into the embrace. Lily had no such reservations. She threw herself into her mother's arms without hesitation. "I brought something for you," said Megan, taking a carefully folded drawing from her backpack. "It's our new home." Elizabeth unfolded the paper, revealing a drawing of a family of 4 people holding hands, with a large red heart in the center. "Who are these people?" she asked, although the answer was obvious. "It's us," explained Lily. "You, me, Megan, and Richard. We're a family now." Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Richard, who was observing the scene with a discreet smile. "Richard has been a wonderful big brother," she said. "Have you been good girls?" "He makes heart-shaped pancakes on Sundays," told Lily, "and reads stories before bed. He even made up a story about a princess who had 2 little sisters. And he's teaching Megan to ride a bike in the park," added Megan. "She still falls, but he said that's normal." Elizabeth held Richard's hand for a few moments. "Thank you," she whispered. "Mum," said Richard, using the word he was getting used to again. "Dr. Carter said you might be medically discharged in a few weeks." "Yes, but—" Elizabeth hesitated. "I have nowhere to go. I lost the apartment. I don't have a job." "We've already talked about this," interrupted Richard gently. "You'll stay with us, at least until you get established again." "Richard? I can't accept—" "Of course you can. We're family." Megan and Lily exchanged excited looks. "Is Mom going to live with us?" asked Lily. "If she wants to," replied Richard. "I want to," said Elizabeth, tears now falling freely. "More than anything." After the visit, on the way home, Megan asked a question that caught Richard off guard. "Richard, are you angry at Mom?" He stopped the car at a red light and turned to look at the girls in the back seat. "Why do you ask that?" "Because she left you when you were little, like she left us at the station." Richard thought carefully before answering. "I felt a lot of anger for a long time, but now I understand that she was sick. She couldn't take care of us properly. And now? Now I feel hope. Hope that we can be a real family." "Even being complicated?" asked Megan, always too mature for her age. Especially being complicated, smiled Richard. The best things in life are complicated. At home, while the girls were playing in their room, Richard received a call from Deborah Carter, the social worker who was following the case. Richard, I need to talk to you about the girls' legal situation. Go ahead. Elizabeth is improving, but it will still take time until she's completely stable. It would be good for you to think about legal shared custody. You as the primary guardian, she as a mother in the recovery process. Is that possible? With the current situation, yes. You have proven financial and emotional conditions to care for them, and Elizabeth has the right to maintain the maternal bond. And if she gets worse again, then you reevaluate. But from what I see, you've built a solid foundation. The girls are safe, loved, and stable. That night, after putting Megan and Lily to bed, Richard sat on the balcony looking at the illuminated city. 3 months ago, his life was predictable, organized, and lonely. Now it was chaotic, noisy, and completely unpredictable, and he had never been so happy. Richard, Megan appeared at the balcony door, carrying her teddy bear. Can't sleep? I was thinking about something. What's that? Megan sat next to him on the balcony sofa. Do you think Mom will really get better? I think so. She's trying very hard. And if she doesn't? Richard put his arm around the girl. Then we'll continue being a family the way we are now. Me, you, and Lily. Promise? I promise. Megan snuggled against him, sighing contentedly. You know what I like most about our family? What? That you don't give up on us. Even when... It's hard. Richard kissed the top of the girl's head, feeling his heart overflow with an emotion he was learning to call unconditional love. I'll never give up on you, he murmured. Never. And for the first time in his life, Richard Anderson knew exactly what it meant to have a real family. The day of Elizabeth's discharge came on a sunny spring morning, 6 months after Richard's first meeting with Megan and Lily at Union Station. The East apartment was bustling with activity. The girls had prepared welcome home posters, Richard had bought flowers, and had even tried to make a cake, which turned out a bit lopsided, but the affection was there. Will she like our room? Asked Lily for the 10th time, referring to the room that Richard had prepared for Elizabeth. Yes, she will, assured Megan, arranging for the umpteenth time the drawings they had made to decorate the walls. At the hospital, Elizabeth was waiting. For them with a small suitcase and a nervous smile. She was visibly better. Her hair shone, her face had regained color, and her eyes were clear and focused. Ready to go home? Asked Richard. More than ready, she smiled, hugging her daughters who ran to her. On the way to the apartment, Elizabeth observed the city through the window with different eyes, no longer the lost eyes of someone in crisis, but those of a woman who was rediscovering the world. Richard, she said softly, I know I can't erase the past, but I want you to know that every day in the hospital I thought about how it would be when I could be a real mother to the girls, and maybe figure out how to be a mother to you too. Mom, he replied, each of us is learning. I'm learning to be a big brother. You're learning to be a present mother. The girls are learning that family can be built in different ways. When they arrived at the apartment, Megan and Lily ran ahead, eager to show everything to their mother. Elizabeth stopped at the door, observing the environment that was once austere and now pulsed with family life. Our home, murmured Lily, pulling her mother by the hand. Our home, repeated Elizabeth, emotional. During the welcome dinner, Lily asked an innocent question that would change everything. Mom, do you still have that necklace with the broken heart? Elizabeth instinctively touched her neck where a thin chain hung. Yes, I do, my love. Why? Because Richard has one just like it. The silence that followed was profound. Elizabeth looked at Richard, who slowly brought his hand to his chest, touching the chain he always wore under his shirt. Richard? Elizabeth's voice was a whisper. He removed the chain, revealing half a golden heart. Elizabeth did the same, her hands trembling slightly. The two pieces fit together perfectly, forming a complete heart with the inscription, "Together Forever," engraved on the worn gold. "You kept it," she cried. "I kept it my whole life," he confirmed, his voice breaking. "It was all I had of you." Megan and Lily observed the scene without completely understanding the emotional dimension of the moment, but feeling its importance. "What does it mean?" asked Megan. Elizabeth dried her tears and held her daughter's hands. "It means that our family was destined to meet again. When I left half of my heart with Richard, and when you were born, you brought the other half." "And now?" asked Lily. "Now the heart is complete again," smiled Richard, placing the unified chain on the table, "and our family is too." That night, after putting the girls to bed, now with their mother participating in the story ritual, Richard and Elizabeth sat on the balcony. "Richard, I need to tell you the complete truth," she said. "When I left you, I wasn't just sick. I was running away." "Running away from what?" "From the fear of being like my own mother, who abandoned us when I was a child. I was repeating a cycle that I thought I couldn't break. But you broke it. You're here now. Only because you gave me a second chance. You could have taken the girls and disappeared, never looked for me again." "I would never do that. They need their mother, and I needed my mother too." Elizabeth held her son's hand. "Can I ask you something? How did you become this amazing man? How did you not let the abandonment make you bitter?" Richard thought for a moment. "I think it was because I always knew, deep down, that you didn't leave me for lack of love. Children sense these things, and when I found the girls, I saw the same pain in their eyes that I carried. I didn't want them to grow up with that emptiness. And now, is the emptiness still there?" Richard looked through the balcony window, where he could see Megan and Lily sleeping peacefully in their rooms, and felt Elizabeth's presence beside him. "No," he said with certainty, "now it's filled." 2 years later, the Anderson family had found its rhythm. Elizabeth worked as an assistant at a nearby school, where her experience with children and her story of overcoming made her beloved by all. Megan and Lily attended a private school, where they were known as the inseparable sisters, who had an older brother who was really cool, and a mother who was the bravest in the world for having beaten the sadness in her head. Richard had transformed Anderson Tech into a more humanized company, creating support programs for families in vulnerable situations. His personal experience gave a new direction to his business, now focused not just on profit, but on social impact. On a Sunday morning, while making heart-shaped pancakes, a tradition that continued, Lily made an observation that touched everyone. "You know what I like most about our family?" "What?" asked the other three in chorus. "That we chose each other. Mom could have stayed in the hospital forever. Richard could have left us at the station. Megan and I could have run away. But everyone chose to stay." Megan nodded wisely. "Hey, it's true. Some families are born together, but our family grew together." Richard looked around the table, seeing Elizabeth serving pancakes with a genuine smile, Megan patiently explaining something to Lily, and Lily laughing with that crystalline laugh that always made him smile. 35 years after being abandoned on a cold morning, Richard Anderson had discovered that family wasn't just about who gave you life, but about who chooses to stay in your life. And sometimes, the best families are those that find each other in the most unexpected places, even in a train station in the heart of Chicago. The broken heart had become whole again, and with it, 4 lives that learned that love can be stronger than any abandonment, and that it's never too late to start over. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit like.